Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Friday, May 30th, 2025 at 2:50 in the afternoon. So we're here to take a look at an amendment to S71. I believe it's a strike all amendment. I think there are many features in there that continue to be the same as the bill, but there are some new pieces. So maybe Monique, you can run us through that, and if we have questions, Rick is here to answer questions on language.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry, we're just making a list of things. So generally the amendment resets to where 71 started when it was in the Senate, which was a match of H208. We did that because we were told we wouldn't necessarily have people come into interested parties willing to come in to testify on our privacy bill. So we had Senate make a copy, and they started it, and with the goal of them getting it out of Senate back to us. And so that is what happened. So that's why I'm resetting to where we started. And a few of the changes are that we changed the applicability threshold. So originally we were matching what Maine tried to do last session, which was a step down over a few years. So it went from 25,000 to 12.5 to 6.25. And so we removed the step down. So it would just be a hard applicability threshold of 25,000, the data of 25,000 Vermonters or more per year. We adjusted the publicly available definition. There was just like one basically kids code matched 208. And then, but when we edited kids code to remove an inference piece, so we removed that to match. So now the definitions match in kids code, and this amendment added language that had kind of been dropped when we originally did the first draft of 208 that was like official, that ended up getting copied to 71, that clarified how data minimization interacts with advertising provisions. The private right of action is still in there, but it applies. So before it applies to large data holders, that was originally defined as entities that process the data of 100,000 Vermonters or more per year. That has been bumped up to 200,000 Vermonters per year. And then originally there was you wouldn't be subject to a PRA if you made less than 25 million per year. That has been changed to $500 million per year, so 500 million in revenue. Let's see, VSAC and College Board both asked for adjustments to language to clarify just business rule kind of navigation. So two pieces were in there. And then at the very end, multiple reasons. One, because we have data brokers in this amendment and in 71 and 208 in general. And then also with what we went through on 342 and questions that were brought up by people testifying. And then also we have Delete Act 211 on the wall still for that's a whole kind of separate data broker bill that was an evolution of one of the chapters from last year's comprehensive privacy bill 121. And so because data broker is in all of these places, and because the data broker definition really hasn't been adjusted since the data broker registry was created, and other states have since passed that, the definition, there's proposals at the end for adjustments to 2430, which would be adding individual, because there's in the data broker definition, it applies to business entities. And as we learned in 342, you can have a single person in their basement doing just as much damage, if not more, than a corporation. So we added individual in there. And then also added a definition of a direct relationship. So because data brokers are defined as having a third party kind of relationship, so we needed to define, California's been working on what does it actually look like to have a direct relationship where there's an expectation that you're doing certain business and swapping certain data, I guess. I feel like there's one other piece of the data broker piece that we changed. Can't remember.
I think you got it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. I don't see anything.
That's just the direct relationship thing is so that a consumer can share with the business their expectations and the business can share with the consumer their expectations, right? So it's a mutually agreed upon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the parties, that step is not available.
Yeah, and actually I'll just flag for people on the record, I think this will come up in general. So in part of the direct relationship piece, as it's come up in discussions in other states, there's been kind of a loophole of information being collected from a consumer versus about a consumer, knowing that there's data being transferred between entities of which a person won't necessarily know, and they didn't necessarily give it to an entity, but it's being collected and shared about them by other people. So anyway, so there's a clarification in that that's different from what California is currently working on.
I mean, can you say more about the difference from the California approach? I mean,
It's just like
that
one.
we
Yeah.
we have that distinction.
So there's, and the only thing we're taking there is that California's, at least the only reference I've gotten so far of trying to I don't know if the direct relationship definition has been created in any other states. So that's just the people are trying to navigate some of the stuff that's coming up with data broker regulation. And so here let me just go to that so I can read it too.
Yeah. 64.
So I have another doc open, but yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen.
Oh, sure.
Rick Sagal, by the way, Office of Counsel. Make sure I get that on the record. So I have, this is on page 64 of the draft 1.3 of the proposed committee amendment. So you see, actually, I did not, oh, that's right, I'm sorry. Take a step back, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
So we're in 2430, which is the PPI statute right for consumer protection. Where I previously mentioned adding the word individual. So we're amending the term business is what we did here, because data broker uses the word business in its definition, and it's constantly business. So I had two options when I was drafting this. Either we change every instance of business to person.
That's what I originally proposed.
And that read really awkward. It was hard to understand. So I know most of us don't think of a business as an individual, but we are telling people, no, businesses would include an individual or commercial entity. No other changes there, but that is significant, that change. Then you do have data broker, no change to the actual specific definition there, but then we're adding in, we currently do have a direct relationship, some examples, in statute, which you'll see is not underlined, but we're also given a kind of a clear meaning that a consumer has intentionally interacted with a business for the purpose of accessing, purchasing, using, requesting, or obtaining information about the business's products or services. Currently, what we have under statute is we have examples of what a direct relationship are. You can kind of see where the underlining stops, right? So currently we say if you're past or present customer, client, subscriber, user, that makes you a direct relationship, which means they're not a data broker, right? Or if you're an employee, contractor, or agent of the business, that's remaining in statute, at least with this amendment. You can decide not to. But we're just kind of clarifying further that there has to be this intentional interaction between the two, because data brokers tend to be these third parties, right? That you don't know the names of. They tend to be in the background. You don't really mean to give them your data or for them to be trading your data. They just do it because they have some other agreement, right, with the business. So that's what this language does. There's probably a lot we can discuss, but this is what it looks like. We are also adding language that it does not exist if the consumer and business, if the purpose of the consumer's engagement with the business is solely. And this is one of the first times I've had to go to AA and BB. So this is we're so far indenting that it's no longer I's or capital A's. It is now AA. Okay. So solely to exercise a right pursuant to section 2418 of the title. That goes back to this is the data privacy 2418. yes, let me make sure. Or BD for the business to verify the consumer's identity. So we are kind of creating a couple of examples here where there's no direct relationship, even if you think based on reading this that maybe, I had intentionally interacted with it, but we're also saying here, no, if the purpose was to exercise the right under a data privacy section, which I believe is duties of controllers, right, Monique? Is that 2418?
Probably.
That's right. Double check for me. Or for the business to verify the consumer's identity. Also, a direct relationship does not exist if the business simply collects personal information directly from the consumer without the consumer intentionally interacting with the business, or the business sells personal data of a consumer that is collected outside of a first-party interaction with the consumer. So I think the purpose here is to give a very clear framework on what is a direct relationship and what is not. It's a lot of language, actually. And I think if there is some kind of cavern where these unknown relationships exist, this would address that.
2418's consumer personal data rights.
Okay, so that's the opt-out stuff. Okay, yeah. So let me clarify then. So to exercise a right pursuant to this would be like if you opt out of targeted advertising, if you opt out of personal data selling and sharing. So doing that on a website or an app would not make you a direct relationship with the business because you're opting out. So.
And in general, to say, so there's still there are, I think, still pieces to kind of work through with like for instance, College Board had more instances we were going back and forth a lot towards the end, trying to fine tune language back and forth. So they had 3 items. I took one of them, asked that we keep working on 2 other provisions. The data broker kind of language. I wanted to start kind of the discussion in this since we do mention data broker, but ultimately 211 is a direction I'd love to eventually go to. But yeah. With the idea that we spend more time over the summer on this. Not that it's passing, right?
The 2 you didn't, you may have mentioned this, the applicability in the S71 as it came over here, and 208 as it was introduced by Rep. Priestley, had the thresholds reduced in half over the next 2 years. I forget, the 25 to 12,500. Those have been removed, so the thresholds would remain the same indefinitely. So they would remain 25,000 and whatever the other threshold is. So that those 2 sections were removed. The future amendments to the bill. I think those cover the major changes. Again, remember, this is basically H208, which I did a walkthrough of. It's been a few weeks. With the yellow highlights being the differences between 208 and this amendment. Be happy to answer questions, or Rep. Priestley also.
Questions?
But I do have a question. No, it's not that question.
He's just messing with me.
That was the fastest on and withdraw I think I've seen. Question.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Rick.
Appreciate it. So this is out there now for everyone to take a look at, not just the committee, but
Soon.
it's there for
Pretty many.
interested parties. It's on our webpage. That's my phone. It's fairly easy to find. And it's up for discussion, and hopefully we have people that will take a look at it and start making some comments.
Yeah, and I would just invite, if it's okay, over the summer, I'll send this out, so I have a listserv for any, there's lots of interested parties that are signed up to receive updates. I would love, always invite more people on that, but also would really invite emails from interested parties to engage in going back and forth on redlining.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if she's on it, but yeah.
On S69, it's off to the governor.
Right.
We'll see what happens. I think that once we know what happens, we'll arrange for press conference on it. We'll all be invited. So
Great.
anybody that can make it back, it'll probably be here.
Great, like when he's like a sign.
Well, we don't know what he's
We
gonna
don't know,
do yet.
yeah.
We don't know.
I
I
get
mean,
it.
number one, we don't know if he's gonna veto it. We don't know
Yeah.
if he's
Got
gonna
it.
allow it to go through without a signature or if he's gonna sign it.
Got it.
Hopefully he signs it and it'd be great if he did a signing ceremony.
Yeah,
Um,
yep.
but I don't
get
know that. So,
Can I add one more thing on 71?
Mhm.
If that's okay. Just so I don't know if anybody else is keeping up with what all the other states are doing, but a number of different states are passing Privacy Act updates this week. So New Jersey updated, Oregon updated, Connecticut is likely to update by the end of next week. Maine has their work session and vote today. Massachusetts has more time, but so there's been lots of, especially when it comes to sensitive data and precise geolocation, tracking and sale of that type of data, those states are largely changing that. Montana made updates. So I'm also just in touch with all of them, but also encourage people to, especially even Montana, remove nonprofits. So nonprofits are now covered under Montana law and are likely to be under Connecticut soon as well. So
floor at 3:15.
3:30.
3:30. Oh, really?
I'll give people enough time. So if you don't know, S-127, Humphrey signed off on it.
An email.
We,
Great.
the major pieces to it, are that we have 60% floor, which is what we put in. So we finally get back to that. There is a cap. The cap's at 200 million, but we still have a cap. We still have a but for. Those are house positions. There's a 75, 85 on the retention. So 75% retention. You add affordable housing, and it goes to 85. The affordable, if you have affordable housing, there's no but for. What are the other major pieces?
10-year sunset ownership.
10-year sunset, so sunset chip is extended 10 years instead of 5.
Doesn't it? Is TIF in
Um,
there? Is this?
Right for the
Primary
sunset
housing
sunset
for
on
the
tip
life.
has been removed.
Sunset and primary housing for the life of the loan,
Right,
for the life of. the
Yeah. so I think,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
so
Sounds like a good result.
I think it's a good result. I think that, we also,
Working?
Yes.
Yeah. the,
We're just like hanging out together in this room all together.
rulemaking for, rulemaking for Betsy has now been changed to guidance. They will use the rules that already exist for TIF. We narrowed the language on improvements. They are still all, they're not exhaustive, but they are not, there's no mention of any of the improvements. It just refers back to, so all of whatever's in TIF is what is
Okay.
available. So, and it's non-exhaustive.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the improvements are anything that is available for TIF as long as it meets the purpose of primary housing.
Right.
Okay,
So it still has to be the
Yeah.
purpose of the bill.
great.
Is it still, is remediation for flood? Okay.
It's a good question.
Reconstruction, I know is in there.
I think that
I have it
is,
all.
so the list is non-exhaustive, which means that Betsy in their rule can certainly look at that and use it for that purpose as well.
For like lifting up a house out of the floodplain?
I mean, because it's non-exhaustive. I mean, of course, the city would have to make the application, make the argument to use it for that, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Moderate income housing definition, like the highest of a series of metrics. That was really, that's a great idea. I appreciate that.
That the Senate brought us that,
Just,
so, I think it's a good compromise that we held on to as much of the House position as we could. And I think it's all about working together with the Senate, and I think we've come up with something that can really be transformative for housing over the next 10 or 20 years and going forward.
I like where we ended up. I think you guys did a good work, really good job. Very proud of you guys. I still have a little bug around.
Fruit fly.
I'm hoping to work it into the guidance. Pepsi's guidance.
Is that the driveways? Is it driveways?
No.
No, it's the objective measure thing. So if you can show that
Oh,
your
now you're talking about-
municipality has got little or nothing, the driver's car.
It's meaningful housing. It's number two.
Yeah, so if you've got 0, 1%, whatever, you could use that as a substitute for or
Gotcha.
supplement to the.
I see. Got it.
But if they're doing affordable housing
Right, then they don't have to do it.
at 85%, you don't have the but for, and that,
Correct.
and that's for the whole project. There's no but for the whole project.
Yeah, and I thought that was a good way to treat that.
So is that a mixed development that as long as it includes some affordable housing
Mixed development
component?
as we had put in that's out. So we have affordable housing, there's a definition for that.
Right.
It's up to 120, and there's moderate. So it's not the moderate that, you still have to have a but for moderate, but
Right,
the but for is if you're using the 85% retainage, then and you have at least a minimum of 15% affordable housing, then you don't, the but for doesn't.
Yeah, that's where I was headed. It mixed in the sense that some part of it had to be affordable, but not necessarily all of
Be a
it.
minimum of 15, but they also have to follow if there's ordinances or that raise that higher, then they have to follow what's higher. Yeah. And so I hope that,
Remind me on the 85% increment, if you have 25% moderate housing, do you have access to the 85% increment? I don't recall.
you could have 15% moderate, that's what gets you
15%
in,
affordable.
affordable. You can have a moderate component to that as well. And if it's all one project, but if you have the affordable, then but for doesn't kick in.
But you need the 15% affordable.
Yes.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
They knock it down.
Right,
Yep,
Okay, so
and you don't get the 85% if you don't have the affordable.
got it.
no matter how
Great.
large the project is, if they have.
Seems
that
like a good
20%,
construct.
They get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? Hope everybody can be a yes on this one.
If you're not, please tell me before we get.
Oh, they're gonna roll call.
I don't see why they would. I haven't
don't
heard
think anybody wants that.
calling. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's on board with this.
As a strategy, we were trying to just sail it on over.
Yeah.
So there's no, yeah,
That's a good question for me anyhow. It starts with us and then we take action and then
yes, because it's an escrow.
Yeah.
Okay,
learn. Yeah,
so I think
can't
that's
make up.
it. I think it's a wrap for this session.
Thank you, everybody, as long as we're like,
Yeah.
a lot of you never done this before, and we turned into a really lovely cohesive committee that
Yeah.
learned from each other and grew together and really appreciated the differences. And I cannot tell you how great experience that has been for me. So thank you, everybody. That's been,
All
Everybody
yes.
brought their own pieces to the table, which is really important.
Did I bring the spice?
sometimes. Right away.
Spiking the challenges and
I'm gonna represent for Barry.
challenges. But
Yeah.
it's, yeah, I'm happy with this group. Thank you all.
It's excited to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
January.
really appreciate the steady leadership from all three of you, actually.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's too bad Kurt's not here. Hopefully he's feeling better. And
And thank you, Anna Grace.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, really.
Grace. Oh, thank you, guys. Do you want to go off live?
You feel better.
Should go.
Yep.